STI now. Sorry about the weird camera angle. I couldn't really get my my GoPro and my suction cup to work again, so just bear with me. First driving impression, I want to touch on the steering wheel. The steering wheel is so nice, it's leather wrapped, and it's got the notches on 10 and 2, and it also has the flat bottom, which makes it really nice for sporty driving, and I'm not hitting my knees on the steering wheel when I go to change gears or anything like that. Now right now I'm on the interstate. I'm in 6th gear right now, cruising at about 80, right above 3,000 RPM. So the thing about this STI, the gears are really short. So when you're in 6th gear, even if you're cruising at like 60 miles per hour, you're still going to be over 2,000 RPM, which is kind of high, especially with the 4-cylinder engine. But the thing about it is, I believe that Subaru made the gears shorter so that you can always stay in the power band, because this is a turbocharged car. And when you have forced induction like turbochargers, you have that turbo lag. Before you get to about 3,000 to 4,000 RPM, you're going to have a little turbo lag, you're going to have a loss of power. But in this car, gears are so short that you're going to stay in that power band pretty much. Oh, somebody had got state trooper, got your ass. Anyways, so you're going to stay in the power band much easier. You're going to have that turbo spool quicker. See, what I noticed is, even when I'm in 6th gear right now, cruising at about 3,000 RPM, if I floor right now, like now, you start to hear that turbo whistle and it starts to pull pretty hard. And I had to let off right there before I was making the troopers come and get me. But it drives much smoother than I thought it would be. One thing that surprised me, that noise that you're hearing while I'm talking so loud, that's the noise coming from that STI Performance exhaust. The exhaust is much louder and much deeper than I thought it would be. I've never heard of a 4-cylinder engine exhaust this deep. I'm not sure why it's that deep, but I will say that Subarus are the only cars that have that distinct engine sound. It doesn't quite sound like a, well, it kind of sounds like a rotary engine tiny bit, but it doesn't quite sound like the rotary engines we hear in the RX-7s. But I'm going to downshift to 5th, just so you guys can get a kind of a sense of how it sounds when you downshift. So turn the AC off first of all. All right, so I'm going to downshift. I'm in 6th right now. That's 5th. Ooh, and that turbo whistle sounds so good when you let off the gas. This car is not stock. Like I said, the owner has the performance exhaust put on. He had the performance exhaust put on, I should say. And he has the performance short throw shifter. I'll show you what the short throw shifter looks like. Pretty short throw, and the throws are pretty short. Yeah, I'm cruising at 6th gear right now, turning about 3,000 RPMs. And the exhaust is pretty loud, but it's not unbearably loud. It's not like if you had a Hellcat with a muffler delete. You know, that drone would just drive you insane. But this drone is not too bad. It honestly is just something to keep you awake. I've already touched on the steering wheel, how it has the notches on 10 and 2, and it's a really sporty feel. You got all the controls on it. But one thing I want to touch on is the clutch. The clutch in this car is a little trickier than most clutches I've dealt with in my driving experience, and this van is just going to completely cut me off. Welcome to Florida. The clutch is really tricky. It's got a lot of dead travel in it, so you're not going to know you're in it until you get into it. And once you hit that meaty part of the clutch, you better be ready to have some gas, and if you're not, you're going to stall just like that. So it takes a little while getting used to this clutch, but once you get the hang of it, it's really second nature. Just like anything in this world. Once you get enough repetition in and repeat it enough, it'll be like, you know it like the back of your hand, I should say. Now this car has 180 on the dash. Manufacturer's claims it will top out at 155. I believe it. This turbocharger pulls pretty hard all the way to red line. And one thing I really like about this car, when you're getting ready to shift gears right before you hit red line, there's a red light that'll beep, or there's a red light that'll flash, I should say, and then there's a beep coming from the car to let you know to shift gears. I really like that. It just makes you feel like you're in a real deal race car. What else can I touch on? The inside of this car is really nice. You can kind of see the seats from where I'm sitting at. It's got nice leather wrap. It's got the Alcantara material in it, I believe. Wide open area. I'm trying to hear that turbo spool. It really doesn't take but a second for that turbo to spool up. I thought it was going to be huge turbo lag because I hate turbo lag. This car makes me appreciate turbo lag because of the way it delivers that power. It's smooth. It's just a little bit like barbaric when you really get into the power band because it'll shoot you off. First and second gear is pretty outrageous compared to the Audi S5. Shit! This has the symmetrical all-wheel drive system that Subaru offers. The Audi was, of course, Quattro. Everyone knows about Audi's Quattro four-wheel drive system. But this all-wheel drive system, I will say, I think it's a little more grippy. Now, the Audi's all-wheel drive system, I think that's better just for like all-around, like everyday comfort and driving in rain and keeping you stable. But this car here, I can tell it's so stable. It feels stiff too, but it's so stable when you're going around corners. I mean, in the turn in, I'm sorry to be rambling, but it's just crazy. The turn in this car, when you turn into a curve, the response time is really, it's not long at all. And I know I saw one review online, I think it was Matt Moran, a Subaru WRX fan, which is kind of ironic because I'm in a Subaru WRX STI. But I saw his review on this same exact car, and he was saying that the steering, when you turn in with the steering, it's a little later response than other cars in the same class. But I can't really tell, or I just haven't driven the other cars that are in the same class as this. But the turn-in feels really, really good to me. You also have the knob down here where you can switch to sport mode and sport sharp mode, and you have the differential settings. I did not play with the differential settings at all because I might know about cars a little bit, but I have no clue what to do with the diff when it comes to settings. I saw a button that says auto manual, and it says, you know, C diff. I'm not sure what that does. I don't want to play with it because I don't want to blow anything up while I'm on the highway. So I'll just leave it alone, but I'm sure one of my savvy subscribers will let me know exactly what that diff button does. But nonetheless, this is a 2018 car, so I'm sure it won't blow up if I were to push a button on the highway, but you never know. I also want to point out something really cool about this car is you can see the boost. You can see the boost gauge on the little infotainment system up there. Yeah, just to touch back on the brakes again, because I want you guys to understand just how serious these brake calipers are there on this car. I believe, like I said, there's 6-piston Brembos, and if I'm not mistaken, those are the same exact type of calipers that came on the Corvette ZR1s when they came out. And if you didn't know, that's a pretty serious driving machine that had 638 horsepower when it came out in 2009, with that LS9 engine. When you have over 600 horsepower, you really want to have some really good stopping power. And Chevy did not disappoint by borrowing those Brembo calipers from, I believe, the Ferrari Enzo. I think the Ferrari Enzo shared those same brake calipers. And they went ahead and put it right on. Just from that story alone, these are some pretty serious brakes on this car, and it's ready to go to the track. Also, I'm not sure if it has launch control out of the box. I know a lot of people get the little programmers and the little tuner programmers, and they set up launch control in these cars. But I did a pretty hard launch in this car. I didn't dump the clutch, but I just let off the clutch nice and smooth, and it took off pretty smooth. I mean, it was a faster takeoff than I expected it to be without dumping the clutch, but it's pretty serious. Back seats of this car are really spacious. As you can see, it's a 4-door sedan. The thing that shocks me about this car is the weight. This car does not weigh much at all. I mean, it literally weighs about the same as a C6 Corvette. And for a 4-door sedan that looks as bulky as this looks, you would not expect it to be that light. But it really is. Pretty sure that is helping this car be as fast as it is and as quick as it is. Well, you just really wouldn't expect that from a 4-door sedan to be under 4,000 pounds, because most cars nowadays, whether it's a sedan or coupe, whatever, they're all mostly over 4,000 pounds. It is a 2018 model, but it does not have the driving lane assist and the blind spot monitoring system, because it's pretty much a raw driving machine. When you have a raw driving machine like this, you're not going to get all those extra gadgets and gadgets that are going to help, you know, like convenience packages. This car shouldn't offer a convenience package because it's not really for the convenient people. This is for the sporty people, the performance people, the people who love to, you know, come out of their driveway and just floor it in first gear and second gear and third gear. So this is really not a car for someone who is looking for like a luxury type feel, who's looking for like an economy vehicle. This car, if you're into economy, it's not for you. This is for guys and gals who like to drive fast and they like performance. This is a serious performance car, and everything about it screams performance. I mean, you look at the front; it looks so aggressive, and even though it's fake carbon fiber on the front splitter, it's a front splitter. You get a carbon fiber front splitter. You get a carbon fiber rear diffuser, but it makes it look that much more aggressive, and it just looks really great. It doesn't save any weight because it's not real carbon fiber. It's just regular plastic, but it looks really, really badass. I do want to touch on these seats. These seats feel really good. Like I said, they're wrapped in leather, and they have the Alcantara, if I'm saying that right, the Alcantara material in them. So they're really grippy. You don't really slide around anywhere. And also, it has really big side bolster on the side, so you're really not going to go anywhere. And when I was going around a curve earlier at pretty high speed, I was just planted to this chair. The car was planted to the ground. Everything was just planted and well balanced. And I really love this car because of how balanced it is. I used to take all-wheel drive cars for granted because I never owned one and I rarely drove them. But as I drive more and more, I am coming to love all-wheel drive cars. I mean, the control you get is just, it's second to none. The feeling you get when you take off is just exhilarating. You don't get that feeling in a rear-wheel drive or a front-wheel drive car. That initial takeoff, it just grips and goes and it just shoots you off. Especially in a car like this that's turbocharged. Once you hit that power band, and if you're switching gears good enough, you're going to really feel that turbo. Now, compared to the Audi when I was in, you get that power right off the bat because it's supercharged. So you get that low end torque. This you have to wait for the turbo, but when it kicks in, I'm pretty sure this will come and get that Audi. If the Audi in this car would have raced from a dig, this would probably get it off the takeoff. It takes a really great driver though, because you have to be able to change gears quick enough. If you have a really good driver, I believe this might beat the Audi. If the Audi does beat this, it's going to be because of the transmission. It has a dual clutch 7-speed transmission. This is a manual 6-speed transmission. So of course the dual clutch is going to be quicker than 99.9% of humans out here. I can't shift faster than a dual clutch. But if I had this car for about a couple days, I would probably start switching gears faster than dual clutch because that's just how I am. I love the way that exhaust sounds when you let off too. It's so deep. You hear that? Let's hear it. That turbo spool. Oh! See, that's what happens when the turbo spools up, man. Too much power. Not too much power, but you know what I mean. That turbo spools up and it just puts the phone down every time. Let's try it again. Ooh, listen to that rumble, rumble, young man, rumble. Yeah, this car is a blast to drive. I'm having so much fun just driving it on the highway. I wish the roads were a little bit clearer so we can actually, get some downshifts and acceleration pulls. It's gonna be hard to do because there's so much traffic. And I'm just glad I got out of that stop and go traffic that I showed you guys earlier. My left foot was on fire, my left calf was burning, and my toes are pretty hurting. They're hurting pretty bad too. It sucks being in stop and go traffic in a stick shift car. It is the worst. You can skip leg day though after this because, well, for the left leg, you gotta work out the right leg too. But I mean, once you get on the open road, you don't have to deal with the clutch at all. So it's just like driving a regular automatic car unless you want to downshift. But right now I'm cruising at 70 miles per hour, 6th gear, just under 3,000 RPM, cruising along beautifully. Beautifully. This car hasn't run hot at all. I mean, the temperature gauge literally has not moved. And I've been driving this car pretty hard intermittently between what I've been doing here, taking videos and stuff. The temperature gauge will not budge, which says a lot about Subaru. Because think about it, I'm in Florida, hot Florida. We have record highs, and then out of nowhere it rain and all this type of stuff. But we have record high temperatures here in Florida. And with this car, with that temperature gauge not moving at all, it really impressed me because with the turbocharged car, it produces a lot more heat. And I was expecting that turbocharged car to produce more heat and kind of maybe see the temperature gauge move up a little bit. Because even in Mercedes-Benz, if you drive a Mercedes, you'll know that sometimes they run a little hotter than normal cars, and actually all the time they run hotter than normal cars because that's just the way that the Germans built that engine. It's designed to run a little bit hotter than other cars. But when you're driving, you'll see it rise up a little bit. Sometimes it'll drop down when you're cruising, but it'll rise up just a tiny bit. This temperature gauge won't budge. So hats off to Subaru. You guys did a good job. That spoiler in the back is just ridiculous. It's so huge. I mean, that thing is massive back there. I'm pretty sure that it's giving you some downforce, man. It's pretty amazing, honestly. Go ahead and give it some gas now. Oh. 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 Oh, yeah. That's moving right there. That's moving. That's moving. I'm not going to tell you how fast I was going, but just know we were moving. It's really not a pain to drive at all. If you know how to drive manual cars, then you won't have any problems at all. Downshift in 5th gear. I'm not the best downshifter, as you can see. I'm still learning. But I know just enough so I don't blow up the damn engine. So that's always a good thing. But this car is really, really fun to drive. Really fun to drive. But that's it for now. Here we go. Shit! That's 60 already. Oh shit! Woo! So much you appreciate it. And also you can see that right here, That's the RT. Ooh. Bright yellow vet, it ain't Motor Mouth 813, subscribe me. Same username, I got it on my eyes. Bright yellow vet, it ain't hard to find. I'm in the vet, it ain't hard to find me.
Ooh, 2019 Camaro SS. Ooh, the LT1 in it. 460 horsepower. Ooh. Look at the wheels. Look at the wheels.
Trying to catch the wave, well I can be your teacher.
feature. My whole team ball, and you just in the bleachers. How it feel when you blowing up, they wanna meet you. Oh my God, I'm your biggest fan, that's how they greet you. And like royalty, that's how they treat you.
Right here, I've got
Prince
a
turned
2016.
to a king,
I'm standing
Eddie
right here
with
next to a
features.
McLaren 600
So many
LT.
options when I go to driving. Motor Mouth 813, subscribe me.
P0's
Same
on there.
username, I got it on my IG.
Inside is
Bright yellow vet, it ain't hard to find me.
I know everyone wants
So
to see
many options when I go to driving. Motor Mouth 813, subscribe me. Same username, I got it on my IG. Bright yellow vet, it ain't hard to find me.
I ain't Meek Mill, I make your girl fall through. When she with me, she gon' forget to call you. Yeah, I'm about my green, but I prefer it all blue. We talked about this shit like it was deja vu. Like Office Depot, stack my paper up. I hit the pipes and wake the neighbors up. I'm in my zone, please don't interrupt. Let's say get louder when it's breaking up. I got options when I'm waking up. Go check the views cause we ain't make it up. 392 the motor shaking up. We push one button, we don't crank it up.
So many options when I go to driving. Motor Mouth 813, subscribe me. Same username, I got it on my IG. Bright yellow vet, it ain't hard to find me. So
You know what this
many
is, man?
options when I
It's
go
that
to
man.
driving.
This the man right there.
Mouth 813, subscribe me.
80, 90. Yep. It's pretty quick for a V6. It's still not that Hemi though.